Alright, we recently published a mega video comparing the absolute best 14-inch laptops. The moment we went live, numerous people commented saying that I should have included the new Slim Pro 7 with AMD, also known as the Yoga Pro 7. People were talking about this laptop like it was a breakthrough device, a premium feeling product with an AMD processor and decent dedicated graphics, all for a fairly affordable price. Well, I've tested it thoroughly and I have to say, I don't like this laptop. Today I'm going to show you why this laptop is totally overhyped and overrated, and at the end I'll cover what you should probably buy instead. To help demonstrate how average this laptop really is, I'll be comparing it to its more expensive sibling, the Slim Pro 9i, as well as many other major laptops around this price point. Let's get into it. So, this laptop comes with two variants, the Ryzen 7 7840HS and the Ryzen 7 7735HS. Our one has the latter, the 7735HS, and is the model sold at Best Buy. Now, both these processors seem like they're from AMD's current generation for high-performance laptops, but AMD has misleadingly named their processors. The truth is hidden in the third digit of the naming scheme. A 3, like in the model we have, means the underlying tech is actually from the older Zen 3 architecture from last year, whereas the 7840HS model is a real current generation Zen 4 processor. We ran all our performance testing on both the default intelligent cooling mode as well as the extreme performance mode, which you can configure from Lenovo's Vantage software. As you can see from Geekbench, which tests a variety of common performance tasks, this laptop substantially underperforms the other laptops, particularly in single core. Even the MacBook Air M2, a fanless laptop, beat this one out. It performed so badly that I was worried that perhaps its memory was only in dual channel mode and not quad. But nope. All good there. And yes, we ran the test multiple times with all drivers up to date. Let's now take a look at Cinebench, which tests how the laptop performs when under max load. It is still at the bottom of the pack. In fact, the only laptop to perform worse was Apple's M2 MacBook Air, which as I said is a fanless laptop, so its performance is heavily restricted due to thermals, but that laptop benefits from no fan noise. In fact, since the Slim Pro 7 performed so poorly, let me add in the scores from Lenovo's own Yoga 9i. That's a 2-in-1 laptop that is more targeted at casual users. As you can see, the Yoga 9i beat the Slim Pro 7 quite substantially in single core, and in multi-core, when on the default balance mode, yes, the Slim Pro 7 is ahead by a good margin, but when both were run on their performance modes, it narrowed. So even though it looks like this laptop has an HS processor, which is supposed to indicate a high-performing machine, you really aren't getting that kind of performance. It's not terrible performance, but it's more at the casual user level. The good news though, if I can call it that, is since this laptop performs so poorly, when you run it under a 10-minute torture test, performance doesn't drop that much, which means the cooling solution in this laptop is up to the task. Unlike the Slim Pro 9i with Intel's 13th gen H series processor, which has an identical chassis, that laptop has to be throttled significantly for any long-running high-performance tasks. It still smashes this one though. You can see in this test just how much better the newer Zen 4 AMD processor in the Framework laptop does. And same with the G14, which completely destroys this laptop in terms of performance. By the way, if you do get the Zen 4 version of this laptop, the 7840HS one, I wouldn't expect things to be all butterflies and rainbows. The G14 will probably still perform better as it has a far beefier cooling solution, as well as a faster Ryzen 9 processor. Taking a look at power draw, you can see that its average power draw is more than the Zen 4 processor in the Framework laptop, which as you'd remember, actually beat this one in performance. But let's take a look at the all-important performance per watt, which is a measure of the processor's efficiency. A more efficient processor means less heat to dissipate, and therefore less fan noise you hear, less heat you feel while using the laptop, and longer battery life. As you can see, this laptop's older Zen 3 processor has similar efficiency to Intel's current 13th gen. It's really only when you run AMD's new Zen 4 series with lower power that AMD becomes noticeably more power efficient than Intel. And that's what Framework is doing with their AMD U series processor. Or of course, if you buy an Apple laptop with an M series processor, then that will also be efficient. Graphics performance. Let's talk about that RTX 3050 graphics which is in this laptop for a sec. Honestly, in 2023, an RTX 3050 is very low-end dedicated graphics. Heck, the 3050 was a low-end dedicated graphics from last year, and the current RTX 4000 series is definitely a big step up. And also, keep in mind that the integrated graphics in AMD's Zen 4 processors, like the one in the 7840HS chip, have really good integrated graphics. So an RTX 3050 is only a modest step up, and isn't really going to get you into the realms of playing current AAA games. Heat and fan noise. Given this laptop's subpar performance, you'd think the processor would run pretty cool. It doesn't, it runs hot. And taking a look at heat you feel for performance tasks, the laptop's keyboard deck does remain very cool to the touch, which by the way, is one of the strong points of this laptop. But definitely do not put this laptop on your lap when doing anything intensive. The underside gets very hot. Fan noise when under full load is extremely loud. Under light use though, like browsing the web or working on office documents, the laptop again remains very cool to the touch, this time also the underside. In this use case, the fans were almost always running, but at a very low volume that I would consider almost inaudible. That being said, the moment you do anything intensive like installing a program, the fans will spin up. Battery life. When on battery, the performance of this laptop doesn't drop by much, which is good. That being said, its performance is still at the back of the pack. To test battery life for high performance tasks, we ran Cinebench on a loop for 30 minutes. The laptop had only 40% battery remaining, so don't do anything intensive on it while on battery. For a more realistic test, we dimmed the screen to 200 nits, then played a Netflix movie on repeat over Wi-Fi for 4 hours. At the end of the run, we had 50% remaining, which is a decent score and should get you around 8 hours for this use case. Look and feel. This laptop looks okay. It's not a special or overly stylish looking laptop. It does feel reasonably well built though. However, not at the quality level of a MacBook. One pro is the rounded edges, which makes the laptop more comfortable to use in environments where you just don't have a lot of wrist support, like using it on a plane's tray table. Display. The display is another weak point of this laptop. On the surface, there are some very good things about it. It is large at 14.5 inches, it's got decent resolution and a fast 90Hz refresh rate, and it is a touchscreen. But there are two serious issues with it. Firstly, it just isn't that bright. We measured around 350 nits, which really is the minimum you'd want for indoor use. On a laptop that costs north of $1,000, this isn't good, and it really affects how much content you can comfortably see on screen without needing to squint. I found I had to run the laptop at a relatively high window scaling to make content large so it became readable. This really negates the point of having a 14.5-inch panel. You can see how this plays out in my Excel test, which shows how many rows I was comfortably able to see without needing to squint. It was an abysmal 29 rows. As you can see from my graph, I was able to see more content on screen on laptops which have smaller displays. The second issue is the display's colors. They just aren't that accurate for a laptop with Pro in its name. They're good enough for viewing content on screen, just not for professional color work. I mean, heck, my MacBook Air M1, which cost a fraction of the price of this one and came out 3 years ago, has a brighter, more color accurate display. Keyboard. Lenovo makes great keyboards, and the one in this laptop is no exception. It isn't quite at the heights of the Slim Pro 9i, which basically feels like you're typing on a mechanical one, but it is extremely comfortable with an excellent tactile feel. The trackpad is good enough, but overall cheapens the experience of this laptop. Tracking itself is pretty decent, but the click feels just cheap and not 100% accurate. The sound from the laptop speakers is awful. They do get loud, but the quality is atrocious. It sounds tinny, super processed, and lacks bass. When we played the same track side by side with my MacBook Pro 14, Ethan even said it's like someone recorded the music from their MacBook on their phone, then played it back using the phone's speakers. Perhaps it's an issue with my unit or the sound drivers, but I did notice another viewer stating he had the same issue. If I do hear of a fix, I will pin a comment with the solution. Ports are pretty decent. You do get an HDMI 2.1 port, a fast USB-C 4.0 port, a second USB-C port that supports 10 gigabit, and then on the other side of the laptop a USB-A port. So overall, decent port selection. But it lacks the SD card reader of its more expensive Slim Pro 9i sibling. And I personally don't love having both charging capable ports on the same side of the laptop. It means you have to run a cable around the back if your outlet is on the other side, which may get in your way. When it comes to overall portability, it's not the most portable of devices. You can see that the framework laptop is much lighter than this one, as is the MacBook Air M2. And even though you may think this is okay, since this laptop has a larger 14.5-inch screen, as I showed earlier, because of this laptop's low brightness, you actually see less content on screen than on those laptops. And since I mentioned the framework laptop, which is a fully upgradable one, unfortunately, all versions of this laptop have 16 GB of soldered memory. You can upgrade the SSD though. Here's how the webcam looks and sounds on the Slim Pro 7, and I'm in the best possible lighting conditions and you can see it really sucks. And now that I've told you about this laptop, here's the pricing. In the USA, the model that we have with the older Zen 3 processor has a recommended price of $1,200 and the model with the newer Zen 4 processor costs just under $1,500. For that kind of money, I don't like this laptop. That's a decent chunk of change, and what you're getting is a laptop that could be using a poor performing AMD processor that came out last year. You're getting low-end dedicated graphics, also from last year, you're getting a dim display with not the best colors, and atrocious sound. Nothing about this laptop really says Pro, as the name would imply, and at the price range, there are just other laptops that are so much better. Seriously, when you have all these laptops side by side like we do, it just becomes so obvious which are the standout ones and which are the mediocre ones. The Asus G14 is much better for gamers. The Framework laptop with AMD or Asus ZenBook 14X are better for programmers. For students or office workers, Lenovo's own Yoga 9i 2-in-1, the MacBook Air M2 or the Asus ZenBook 14X are better options. Heck, even Apple's MacBook Air M1, for a lot of people, it will be a better choice than this laptop, and it just costs a lot less. Where I feel this laptop really becomes a viable choice is for people who want a taste of everything, but they don't need a laptop that will do anything particularly well. And if that's you, and you can find this laptop on sale for around $1,000 for the Zen 4 version, like it is right now, I can definitely see it making sense. But as you can see, it just isn't a standout laptop. Well, that's all for today, folks. If you like this video, you know what to do. Make sure to give us a like and get subscribed. Not only does it show your appreciation for the work we all put in, but it makes my mother very proud. Till next time, go do something awesome with your day, and I will catch you later.